It was a grim, rain-slicked Tuesday morning in Portland, Oregon. The city lay drenched under a heavy gray sky, the kind that seemed to press down on everything. Rain hammered against the windshield of Ambulance 7 as it carved through the narrow, flooded streets, wipers working overtime. Thunder rolled low in the distance, and the scent of wet asphalt and pine filled the air. Inside, the radio crackled with urgency. A man had collapsed just outside the city limits. Time was critical. Lisa sat beside the driver, her fingers tapping nervously on her knee. She'd been an EMT for 8 years, but something about stormy mornings always put her on edge. Her partner, Mike, kept both hands on the wheel, eyes sharp. They were a few miles from the site when the siren's echo was suddenly met with an unexpected sight. A white dog standing perfectly still in the middle of the road. Soaked to the bone, shivering, yet unflinching, its eyes locked onto the ambulance. Mike hit the brakes hard. Tires screeched against the wet ground. "What the hell?" he muttered. Lisa leaned forward, heart skipping. The dog didn't move, didn't flinch. It just stared. And something deep in Lisa's gut told her this wasn't just a stray. The engine hummed low as the ambulance idled, the siren now silenced. Rain continued to pour in steady sheets, but the dog didn't budge. It just stood there, a ghostly white shape against the dark, glistening asphalt for matted, ribs faintly visible. Its eyes, dark and unwavering, bore into the windshield as if it could see right through them. For a moment, time seemed to stretch thin. Lisa felt a strange pull in her chest. Something primal. This wasn't fear, and it wasn't curiosity. It was an ache, like the dog was reaching for her, without moving a muscle, not barking, not panicking, just pleading. Mike gave a short honk. Then another. Still nothing. "It's not moving," he said, annoyed, but Lisa raised a hand. "Wait," she murmured, already unbuckling. She stepped out slowly into the cold, water seeping instantly through her shoes. The rain hit her skin like tiny needles. She approached with caution, watching the dog. It didn't growl. It didn't run. Instead, it backed up a few steps, then sat down again, not defiant, not afraid. Just waiting, watching. Lisa crouched, heart racing. In that stillness, in that storm, there was something louder than any siren, a silent, desperate message she couldn't ignore. Lisa hesitated only a second before she stepped off the road, her EMT boots sinking into the muddy shoulder. The dog had turned without a sound and was now trotting toward the tree line, pausing every few steps to glance back as if checking she was still following. Mike's voice crackled from the ambulance, but she didn't stop. Something deep inside her, beyond reason, beyond protocol, pushed her forward. Branches clawed her jacket as she slipped and stumbled down a narrow, overgrown slope. The air was thick with the scent of wet earth and pine. Rain streamed from the leaves above, each drop cold as ice against her skin. Her heart pounded, part adrenaline, part fear. What if she was wrong? What if this was just a lost animal and she'd wandered off when every second could cost a life? Then she saw him. Beneath a cluster of dark, drooping evergreens, an old man lay sprawled on the soaked ground, his skin pale and lips tinged blue. His chest rose shallowly, barely moving. The dog was already at his side, circling, whining, its tail low, body trembling. Lisa dropped to her knees, hands shaking as she checked his pulse. He was alive, but just barely. Lisa's voice was sharp and urgent as she called for Mike through her radio. "Down the slope? I found him! Bring the stretcher, now!" The man's pulse was faint, his breath raspy, chest barely lifting. Every beat felt like it could be the last. Within minutes, Mike came crashing through the underbrush, stretcher in hand. Together, they lifted the man with practiced speed, the rain soaking through their uniforms as thunder growled low above the trees. The dog paced frantically, circling, then stopping at the man's head, whining like it couldn't bear to be separated as they climbed back toward the road. The dog followed close behind, slipping in the mud but refusing to stay behind. When they reached the ambulance and slid the man inside, the dog leapt up, front paws on the step, eyes pleading again, not barking, not making a sound, just asking. Lisa paused, one hand on the door. For a split second, she looked into those eyes and made her choice. She opened the door wider. The dog climbed in and curled beside the stretcher, head resting near the man's arm, body still trembling but calm now, as if it had delivered its message and was standing guard. Rain tapped gently on the windows. No one spoke. Inside the ambulance, there was only the rhythm of a siren, the hiss of oxygen, and a quiet, unshakable presence of love. At the hospital, the white dog became more than just a visitor. It became a quiet legend. It waited by the emergency entrance, unmoving for hours, soaked by the rain, chilled by the night air. It wouldn't eat the food nurses left out unless Lisa was nearby. When she emerged from her shift, exhausted and mud-streaked, only then would the dog approach and nibble at the offerings, tail wagging weakly in gratitude. The rest of the time, it lay curled in a tight ball on the cold concrete, eyes fixed on the sliding doors, as if sheer willpower might make them open. Staff began to talk, first in whispers, then in reverent tones. The white dog who waits, they called it. Some of the nurses left extra towels near the door when the night got too cold. One orderly swore he saw it shiver all night in a thunderstorm without moving an inch. Patients watching from their windows found comfort in its vigil, their own struggles softened by the sight of such unwavering loyalty and no leash. No command, just a silent, stubborn refusal to leave the man it had saved. And in that stubbornness, something unspoken passed between the hospital walls, a reminder that love, in its purest form, never waits for permission. The door creaked open softly as Lisa guided the white dog down the hallway. Nurses stood aside, some with hands over their mouths, others already blinking back tears. The dog walked slowly now, not with the anxious pace it had shown outside, but with solemn purpose, like it understood where it was going. Its nails clicked gently on the linoleum floor as it entered George's room. George lay still, eyes half closed, face pale against the sterile white sheets. Machines beeped softly around him. He hadn't spoken a single word since they brought him in. Then the dog stopped at the foot of the bed. It let out a single soft whimper, barely audible, and waited. George's eyes twitched. Slowly, they moved toward the sound. When they landed on the dog, something broke open inside him, and a tear welled up and slipped down his cheek. His lips trembled. And then, with a voice so faint the nurses had to lean in to hear, he whispered one word. "Bailey." The dog's tail thumped gently. Lisa covered her mouth, unable to stop her own tears. The nurses cried openly. Even Mike, stoic and seasoned, wiped his eyes in silence. In that single word, life returned. It wasn't just a reunion. It was resurrection. The kind only love can summon. That George's recovery was nothing short of miraculous. The doctors were baffled. One moment, he had been barely clinging to life, and the next, he was talking, eating, and smiling. His progress was so rapid that it defied all medical logic. But Lisa knew the answer. It wasn't the medication, the machines, or even the doctors that had brought him back. It was Bailey. The bond between man and dog was powerful, and it had pulled George from the edge of death. Each day, George grew stronger, his words more coherent, his spirit more alive. And through it all, Bailey stayed close by, never straying too far, as if guarding the very heartbeat of his owner. Then one morning, George's wife arrived. She had been searching for him since the moment he collapsed, her heart filled with worry and confusion. When she found him at the hospital, she finally revealed the truth. "George collapsed during our walk," she explained, her voice shaking. "Bailey stayed with him. He never left his side. Even when I couldn't find him, Bailey refused to leave the woods, guarding George with all his strength." As she spoke, George's eyes softened. He reached for Bailey's head, stroking the dog's fur as if to thank him without words. Bailey rested his head in George's lap, his own silent acknowledgement of the promise he had kept, loyalty, love, and a bond that could never be broken.